Hi, this is Ruth Theresa with One Inspiring Woman, and today we're talking about kids with abilities. And this is a great video to watch right before your kids go back to school. So kids go back to school in the next couple of weeks, and this is a great way to kind of empower your kids to work through or deal with being around others. Now, a lot of psychic kids usually have some issues or some sensitivities being around other people, especially in a school setting, because there are so many kids all around you all the time. So a lot of times it can be really overwhelming for our kids to go back to school, especially because they've had a couple of months off. They haven't been around other people, around other kids, that many at one time. And so now it's like, okay, here we go. Now we've got to work through this. And they'll be experiencing like peaks and valleys of like, oh my gosh, everybody's like super excited. And then everybody's kind of like depressed because summer's over and everything in between. On top of that, depending on the age of your child could be going through just anxiety of like meeting everybody and getting to know their energy and kind of what's going on with that. You know, in elementary school, maybe middle school is kind of like, are my friends going to be here? Are they going to be around? Are they going to be my friends this year because they weren't my friends last year, or friends and all that kind of stuff? And then when you get into high school, it's kind of like, am I going to have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, or who's going to be my friend and who's going to be my confidants, and all of those kind of things. And all that pressure kind of just really builds on our kids, especially with psychic abilities as they go back to school. So here are 10 ways to kind of empower your kids as they go back to school. So number one is really work with them about kind of breathing with their energy. So many times kids get overwhelmed and they don't know how to fix it. They get overwhelmed, they kind of get themselves amped up, and they're like, I don't know what to do with this. They feel frustrated, scared, hyper, or just really upset. Someone else was upset and now they're upset, but they really weren't upset before, but they got upset because their friend was upset, all this kind of stuff. And it's one of those, one of the best things to do is kind of teach them right before we go back to school is just doing 3 breaths. And it's one of those slow, concentrated, and just really like focused on that. So I often tell people is to have them breathe from their nose all the way to their belly button. And if they don't feel it, it's one of those, put their hand, whatever is their dominant hand, over their belly button and feel their belly button move. Of course, it's not going to move like your chest, but it's going to move as you take a deep breath. So just 3 deep breaths can really change their game and really make it easier for them to deal with. And if you practice this a few weeks before they get into school, it can really help amplify that energy and really kind of work through things around them. The second one is for you at home, when you get ready to kind of clear or smudge your space, make sure you do that right before they go back to school with their school clothes, with their backpacks or any of that stuff. And I would continue that for probably the first 2 or 3 days that they're in school, because that's when the energy at school is the most high. It is like crazy high. They're nervous, their friends are nervous, the other people around them are nervous, and that adds a lot of amplification of the energy. So when you smudge, you're kind of like releasing that energy off their clothing. You're releasing that energy off their backpack or whatever they're taking to school. So that can be really, really just very grounded. Very clearing to kind of get rid of that smudging energy, to smudge out that energy and kind of really do it. So I would do, I wouldn't do a whole sage stick. I would just kind of do their items, just kind of light it and let that kind of smoke kind of permeate their clothes, kind of permeate their backpack. And like I said, anything that they'll be taking to and from school, especially don't forget their shoes. I know that's important. So our third one is all about staying grounded. One of the things that's really important for kids is a lot of times when they're not at home, or they're used to being at home and now they're not, they're going somewhere else. It can be kind of like this overwhelming kind of energy, and they may feel a little flighty or a little kind of like off their game a little bit. And so it's one of those, it can be a little bit great to have something that is grounding with them. So one of the things I would purposely do is send them to school with a stone, like just a small stone that they could put in their pocket, nothing huge or ginormous or anything like that, something that they could hold onto and rub in their hands. That can be something that can make them feel more grounded around them. Depending on the stone, you could also wear it as a necklace too. If they wanted to, they could wear it as a necklace, and then they could sit there and kind of rub the stone, and that would help as well, kind of making them feel more grounded and kind of picking up that positivity around them. So grounding them can help them release energy on the spot. You can do both of them. They can have that stone in their hand, and then they could also do the 3 deep breaths, and that can really help them feel grounded around them. Number 4 is shielding. A lot of children are extremely sensitive, especially when there are so many people around them. And it's one of those, it can be extremely sensitive with positive energy or negative energy. It doesn't matter. They're just picking up everybody else's energy, and they're like a sponge. They're going to like draw that energy to them, and it can really overwhelm them. So it's something to kind of keep track of. But it's one of those, when they are feeling that way, one of the things I've taught kids to do is just kind of blow a bubble of kind of like protection around them. And I literally tell them, when you breathe in, you want to think in of bringing in divine guidance and divine light from above, breathing that into you so it's kind of circulating with your energy, and then breathing it out and doing it into a bigger and bigger bubble around you. So it's kind of like you feel like you have this energy of protection all around you. So I would just tell them to kind of take the 3 deep breaths, but think about it before you start that you're bringing in divine healing light. So think about them just before they get started, feeling that divine healing light hitting the top of their head and their shoulders, that sort of thing, breathing it in, and then blowing out that bubble. And it covers everything around them. And visualizing a bubble like this can kind of feel really great inside, because it's keeping everybody else's negative energy further away from them. So they may feel like they are empowered and that they can move through things. Number 5 is exercise. And I don't mean you can do exercise at school. A lot of times you really can't, but there are a few stretches that you can do, some yoga holds that you can do even around. So a lot of them are kind of just rolling your shoulders forward, rolling your shoulders. Okay, let's do this. Forward, here we go. And then backwards, here we go. Keeping your elbows as close as you can to your body and kind of loosening that up, leaning your head to one side and then the other, and just allowing that, I know my neck is stiff, just allowing that to kind of lean both directions. And then I would say also, like when they're sitting in their chair, having them turn their torso to one direction and then the other. That can make them feel so much better. Like I said, a lot of times that stressed energy keeps their bodies taut, and they can't really stretch the way they would like. And this can do a lot to really amplify that energy of just keeping them in motion and moving forward. So my next few items are kind of more what you can do at home. So my number 6 is kind of bring nature inside the house. This could be having stones around them. Doing salt lamps are really great and really amplify and kind of like really calm energy down really well. And it also really kind of makes them more connected to nature. So it's one of those having plants, rocks, crystals, pictures of like waterfalls or like fish tanks, even if it's just like one little beta in there, that can really calm down a child who's going through something and kind of like just relaxing that energy down. And it's kind of a pet, but it's not really a pet. It's a fish. But if you do have pets at home, make sure that your child takes some time and walks with that pet outside, like walk with their dog a little bit, or maybe sit on the back porch for a little bit with the cat or something like that. So they're kind of doing two things, kind of relaxing their energy at the same time, but allowing their pets to be there with them. Number 7 is a quiet room. Many of my clients that have high energy children will have like a quiet space or quiet room in their house. And this is a room that really doesn't have any electrical equipment in it. So besides the lights and maybe a few salt lamps, there's really not a lot of electricity going on in there. No cell phones on in there. This is a really great time to kind of like amplify their energy. This can be a quiet room where they go in there and do artwork. So you have like colors or crayons, markers, glue, scissors, all that kind of stuff, and just kind of like amplifying that and just really relaxing in that energy can be amazing for a child. And kind of go in there, do it with them at times so that they kind of get to know what to do, and then allow them their own time. And they're like, okay, I'm going to go start dinner and you can finish up in here. So it kind of gives them their own time to kind of read a book or do a puzzle or play with something that's hands-on and not just electrical devices, not just games or plays or whatever it is. That makes it much easier. Number 8 is sea salt tubs. Now, I would say do this with your kids. Totally do this with your kids. So get a package of pink Himalayan sea salt. I would say that fine grain, something that you could easily dissolve. I would say put it in a bowl and kind of let them start mixing that up. You could do different fragrances in there if you wanted to. Let them pick their own. I would say things like calming, like rose or chamomile, lavender. Maybe there's a cedar in there that they really like. I had a client not too long ago that really loves Palo Santo. And so that was something that we were able to do, is kind of put the Palo Santo energy into the salts. And so that was really great. And it kind of came out with that Palo Santo smell to it as well, which is what he was really into. And that can really calm him down. Now, I would say like make a big bowl of that and then put it into like a jar or something that can lock down or twist tie. And so that's a really great one to kind of like naturally use. You can put a scoop in there. And so 1 scoop is about an ounce for most of them. So you could put 1 or 2 scoops in there. And these are really great to do the first couple of days of school. I would do one every day. And then after that, they can do it whenever they choose to. Probably about once a week is probably good. But they can actually make several different types. You could do one that was rose. You could do one that was lavender. You could do another one that's chamomile, and have a couple of different ones in there in the bathroom that they like, so they can just open it up, take a scoop and throw it in the bathtub and kind of cleanse out their energy and kind of really remove negative energy from their bodies and just kind of like, let this go. Number 9 is kind of cleaning their environment. A lot of times we have a lot of things in our home that aren't really natural, and a lot of these kids that have really high sensitivity will be allergic to them. So this is kind of an interesting one. Make sure that you're maintaining fragrances that are holistic. Essential oils are usually best. I would say kind of one of the things that can be really helpful is to have music going on. And I don't mean rock and roll. I love rock and roll, and that can be really great. But music like orcas. You could do dolphin music where you kind of like you're hearing the dolphins talk in the background. You could do like Zen type music, or kind of just very relaxing. Something with healing bowls like that can be really helpful during this time frame and calm down that chaos that they're dealing with at school. Can be really overwhelming and can really let go of a lot of that they're hanging on to. My 10th one is a lot of times children that have really high sensitive energy, they're really sensitive sensitive or they have a lot of psychic abilities to begin with. One of the things is letting them go to a Reiki master or Reiki healing. That can be a great way to kind of bring them back into balance. Now, of course, if you're taking a child to them, I would make sure that you find the right mix for the child and the Reiki master, so it makes it much easier to do. But I would say one of the things that is really important is that they find the right one, and it's one of those, and you're there as much as you possibly can, so that you're kind of partaking or learning how to do this, because they will get stuck energy usually in the same places, so you might be able to help or assist with that. But a lot of times my really highly sensitive kids usually do Reiki masters appointments, the week before school, the week the school starts that week, and then the next week to kind of help calm out that energy, and then they go back into their regular cycle. That makes things so much easier for them. Let's do a couple of angel cards, and let's get them a little bit more insight into all things getting ready, our kids ready for dealing with high energy. So let's go here. This first one is Virgo, and this is all about digesting. This is what we're really helping them do. We are really helping them digest information, energy, kind of being overwhelmed, kind of looking at things differently, instead of like, oh my gosh, this is going to be upsetting. Like, here's your toolkit. This is what you've got. This is where we're going to go with this. Upside down. This one is the ascendant, and this is the entrance. The way you make an entrance for these kids now at the beginning of the school year is going to make a great difference. But this can help all year long. Any time the kid is going out, making sure that they're smudged well, and they have a stone with them to kind of help absorb that energy. Even when they come back from Christmas break or after spring break, this can really help. These ideas can really help get those kids back in that energy much easier and helpful. This is Vesta, and this is all about the hearth. This is kind of like they get a chance to kind of take their home with them as part of it. That's kind of a fun thing, because usually we're most comfortable at home. We are most comfortable with being around other people and kind of what's going on at home. And then when we go to school, it's like, oh my gosh, this is overwhelming. I remember being overwhelmed when I went to school, just like, oh my gosh, this is chaos. And so this is really important to kind of teach them how to work through this, because they're going to have many, many, many first days in their life. And so this is really important to understand this. This one is the first house, and this is arrival. Teaching them how to arrive, teaching them how to work through things, teaching them what would you like to say to someone that you're meeting new, and tell them about you, and kind of get to know about them. Those are really some great ways to kind of teach them how to start something brand new and something different. This one is all about opposition, and this is about confrontation. They are going to be confronted with so much energy all at the same time, just kind of overwhelming, all at the same time. And so this is a great time to really amp that up and teach them how to work through their energy. A lot of times we didn't get that memo when we were kids, like, how do you deal with this? But you can teach your kids. You can teach them the way you wish it would have been for you. You can teach them how to work through the energy and how to deal with what's going on. That is really important for most of us. And I will say that it's kind of a special thing that you can do to bond with your child, which brings us to our last card. This one is Juno, and this is all about partnerships. We have to be on the same page with our kids and understand what they're going through, kind of letting them kind of vent to us of what they're going through during school, after school. How can we work through this energy better? I work with a lot of kids during the summer and the beginning of the school year, because that's when they are amped up the most. And so doing or implementing several of these ideas can really help your child to assist them in dealing with the energy that they're going to be facing over the next couple of weeks as they enter school. I thank you so much for joining me today, and I know that we'll be talking again soon.